last time. Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving. Ours is no caravan of despair. Come, yet again, come.
Good morning. I'm Colleen Crawley. Kathy Muha and I serve as co-chairs of the Mindful Eating team. Our group is all about food justice. We work on programs and events that deal with hunger, the climate crisis. We support food and farm workers, human health, and animal rights. We enjoy teaming up with other groups within the congregation whenever we have a common cause. Recently, Kathy Muha spent time with local farmer Melvin Parsons to learn more about the mission of We the People Opportunity Farm.
Thanks, Colleen. Mindful Eating has followed Melvin and the work that he does on his farm for some time now. His farm is in Ypsilanti, and we feel that his mission fits right in with our mission. Melvin, thank you so much for talking to us today.
You're welcome. It's my pleasure.
Can you explain how your mission speaks to food justice?
Yeah, good question, Kathy. Our mission, although our mission is to break the cycle of incarceration here in Washtenaw County, and we do that by bringing formerly incarcerated men and women into our paid internship program, because the vehicle in which we engage in helping to change their soil is food, then food justice kind of flows into that work. Food justice being access to food, learning about healthy organic food, and things of that nature there. I remember a Nigerian older gentleman that worked at an African market. I went in there one day to talk to him about African food because I felt so disconnected from my culture in that way and what they ate. We had a great conversation, but one of the things that he said to me that stood out, and I still remember it to this day, 9 years later, is that your best doctor is your chef, meaning that you are what you eat. And so what we try to do, myself included, is to teach a little bit about the importance of food and how that plays into your whole well-being out here with our interns and staff included. And we last year we started a no-cost food distribution program to our community, and on the first and second Saturday of every month we distributed a lot of what you see grown out here back to our neighbors at no cost to them, and we plan to continue that program this year.
Thank you. So you serve one community that it's the formerly incarcerated people, and your interns are formerly incarcerated people.
They are.
Yes.
Yes.
And then you also serve the local community through giving the food at the food bank. Tell us a little bit more about your interns and what they learn by working here.
The important thing for us is to treat them with kindness and dignity. And I believe one of the main takeaways that we want them to learn is how to reciprocate that, right? You know, to go from the ones being treated with kindness and dignity to being the ones that transmit that onto themselves and to those whose lives they come in contact with. This year, we incorporated an instructor, so we added a teaching component to our internship program, and she comes out here once a week to talk about subjects like food sovereignty and food justice and health and wellness and conflict resolution and self-efficacy. Really gotten some good support from a couple of local funders, United Way of Washtenaw County, as well as the Ann Arbor Area Community Foundation. We just received some funding from the Michigan Health Endowment Fund because what we want to do as an organization, we realize that it's important to be able to assess the work that you're doing and also to be able to create some tracking tools.
What do you see in your future? The future of the We the People Opportunities Farm?
Oh, you know, the sky's the limit for We the People Opportunity Farm. I think we're only held back by our vision, you know, and so as long as we can be courageous and bold and have the audacity, right, to just kind of move forward and operate from a mindset of abundance and not scarcity, I think there's a lot of wonderful things in store for We the People Opportunity Farm.
Little Mole Finds Hope by Glennis Nellist, illustrated by Sally Garland. Little Mole was sad. He lay in his burrow deep underground, and he put his head in his paws. Little Mole, what's ever wrong? Asked Mama. I just don't know, Mama, sniffed Little Mole. But I don't feel good inside. I'm sad. What you need is hope, Mama said. Hope? What is hope, and where do I find it? Asked Little Mole. Come with me, Mama said as she took hold of Little Mole's paw. Sometimes hope is hiding in the darkness. Sometimes it's hard to see, but it's always there. You just have to find it. Mama led her son gently out of the dark burrow up toward the light. But on their way out of the tunnel, Mama stopped. Do you see this little bulb, Little Mole? She said. Mama pointed to a bulb squashed in the dark earth. It was brown, wrinkled, and lifeless. It's dead, Mama, said Little Mole. No, my dear, Mama whispered softly. This bulb is not dead. Sometime soon it will feel the warmth of the sun. It will begin to grow and push its way out of the deep, cold earth. One day this bulb will become a beautiful yellow daffodil. Close your eyes, Little Mole. Can you see it dancing in the wind? Yes, Mama, cried Little Mole. I see it, I see it. That is hope, Mama said. Little Mole and Mama reached the top of the burrow where the sun was shining. Look up, Little Mole, Mama said. What do you see? Little Mole looked up. He saw woodpeckers sitting in the trees, but the branches were bare. They stretched out like skeleton bones, silhouetted against the sky. They are dead, Mama, said Little Mole. No, my dear, Mama whispered. The trees are not dead. One day soon buds will appear, and these branches will be covered in bright green leaves. Close your eyes, Little Mole. Can you see them dancing in the wind? Yes, Mama, cried Little Mole. I see them, I see them. That is hope, Mama said. Little Mole and Mama scurried along the edge of the woods until they came to Mr. Rabbit's garden. An old brown flower pot was lying on its side in the soil. Under the rim, something small and shriveled was hanging. It's dead, Mama, said Little Mole. No, my dear, whispered Mama softly. That chrysalis is not dead. One day soon, the butterfly growing inside will burst out of her shell. She will spread her wings and fly free among the flowers. Close your eyes, Little Mole, said Mama. Can you see her dancing in the wind? Yes, Mama, cried Little Mole. I see her, I see her. That is hope, Mama said. Little Mole and his Mama went home. I had a wonderful day today, Mama, Little Mole said happily. Now I know that there's always hope, even in the darkest places. Mama smiled as she tucked Little Mole into bed, pulled his quilt up under his chin, and kissed him goodnight. And Little Mole closed his eyes and fell fast asleep, dreaming of yellow daffodils, green trees, and beautiful butterflies dancing together in the wind. The end.
I know this rose will open. I know my fear will burn away. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose will open. I know, 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 I know. I know, 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 I know. I know, I know, I know, I know, I know, I know, I know this rose will open. I know my fear. I know my fear will burn away. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose. I know this rose. I know this rose. I know my fear will burn away. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose. I know this rose. I know this rose. I know this rose. I know my fear. I know my fear. I know my soul will unfurl my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose. I know this rose. I know this rose. I know my fear. I know my fear. I know my soul will unfurl my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose. I know this rose. I know this rose. I know my fear will burn away. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. Will unfurl its wings. I know this rose. I know this rose. I know this rose. I know my fear will burn away. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. Will unfurl its wings. I know this road will open, 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 fear will open, open, soul will unfold its wings. I know this road will open.
I'd like to invite you deeper into our worship hour with words from the second book of Corinthians from the Bible, more specifically, several verses from chapter 8. And in this, I give advice. It is to your advantage not only to be doing what you began and were desiring to do a year ago, but now you must also complete the doing of it. That as there was a readiness to desire it, so there also may be a completion out of what you have. For if there is first a willing mind, it is accepted according to what one has, and not according to what he does not have. For I do not mean that others should be eased and you burdened, but by an equality, that now at this time your abundance may supply their lack, that their abundance may also supply your lack, that there may be equality. As it is written, he who gathered much had nothing left over, and he who gathered little had no lack. So I have a pretty significant t-shirt ministry, and in this ministry, I have a few shirts that reference Jesus. One says, rightly so, that Jesus was an anarchist. Another says, oh my God, you guys, that's not what I said, with a traditional picture of Jesus on the cross. And the last says, y'all need Jesus. All of the shirts are conversation starters. Obviously, that's the point, right? The last one, though, gets plenty of eyebrow raises in Unitarian Universalist space. Need Jesus? We don't need Jesus. We don't need any deity. I'm not here to convince anyone to accept Jesus Christ as their Lord and Savior. And at the same time, I fully support you if Christianity is where your spiritual needs are met. My intent this morning is not to debate whether Jesus of Nazareth is God. I do ask, though, that we work to recognize that Unitarian Universalism is a pluralistic faith, and there are Christians among us, and they belong here. Jesus of Nazareth was a teacher and a leader and a servant. He was also a brown man executed by the Roman state for heresy and treason. He was an anti-government agitator, and he whipped bankers with an implement he made himself and expelled them from the temple. He hung out with sex workers and disabled people. The first person he spoke to after his resurrection was a woman. Now, I want to be clear, I'm not a scholar of Jesus of Nazareth. I am a devoutly religious Unitarian Universalist, and I view the works of Jesus through both a Unitarian lens, that is, there is a singular manifestation of divinity, though we all experience it differently, and a Universalist lens, that is, we are all already saved and do not need to earn grace. And the truth is that following the teachings of Jesus gets a bad rap among the religious left. We view and experience Christians as intolerant, even hateful. Not too long ago, I shared a few verses from the book of James, chapter 5, verses 1 through 6. And by the way, I'm going to offer you a content note for some violent imagery. I shared this on my Facebook page. Come now, you rich, weep and howl for the miseries that are coming upon you. Your riches have rotted and your garments are moth-eaten. Your gold and silver have rusted, and their rust will be evidence against you and will eat your flesh like fire. You have laid up for treasure for the last days. Behold the wages of the laborers who mowed your fields, which you have kept back by fraud. Cry out, and the cries of the harvesters have reached the ears of the Lord of hosts. You have lived on the earth in luxury and in pleasure. You have fattened your hearts in a day of slaughter. Kind of a little bit sounds like billionaires flying into space, maybe. When I posted that on Facebook, a friend of mine asked, "What Bible is this?" The teachings of Jesus, as presented by what we might call mainstream Christianity and mainstream Christians, that's not what what James is talking about here, right? If you aren't aware, James was the brother of Jesus, and most of his writing in the Bible is about humility, equity, and doing the work of justice. If you're looking for a part of the Bible to read, I recommend the books of James. So the parts of Jesus' teaching that we hear about most often are the ones that in some way support a more conservative view of Jesus. The prosperity gospel, based on a few cherry-picked verses of the Bible, is the theology of televangelists who live in mansions and own dozens of cars. They preach that if they have God's grace, they will have wealth. That theology is counterposed to the socialist Jesus that is apparent in the rest of the stories we have about him. Do you have a favorite Bible verse? I do. Mine is Micah chapter 6, verse 8. He has shown you, O mortal, what is good. And what does the Lord require of you? To act justly, and to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God. I love that verse so much that I have it hanging up in my family room at home. Once, on a trip to San Francisco, well before seminary, I visited the UU Church in San Francisco, and that is the church of Thomas Starr King, the namesake of the seminary I attend, and is full of glorious stained glass, and the words of Micah 6:8 are on the wall. And when I say wall, I don't mean like the 11 by 14 print that I have hanging up in my house. I mean the entirety of one wall had an intricate script painting of these words. And I loved them immediately. I sat there actually for quite some time watching the light coming through that stained glass, moving across those words. And I kept stumbling when I got to that last word, the God part of it. I more than stumbled. It troubled me, directly troubled. How could I love these words that talked about God? And I sat still with that inner turmoil for a few days. I turned those words and what they meant to me and God over and over and over in my head. I wrote them down in my journal so I could see them again. And then I saw the Unitarian of it. Your God, or rather, my God. My experience of the holy, how I see divinity, which for me is not God as an entity, but rather a verb, like love. I have seen so many Unitarian Universalists dismiss the Bible out of hand because of how Christian fundamentalists broadcast their interpretation, or because of the way the Bible has been used against them like a cudgel. I am one of those people who's had the Bible used against them. But I want to invite you into a deeper and maybe new understanding of a Jesus who is far more in line with our principles and values. Socialism is a hot button word for some folks. They imagine totalitarian regimes where people are forbidden from making choices. But really, socialism is just an economic and political system, one in which the workers keep the wealth they generate through their work, and the government provides the social safety net for everyone. Socialism is a system of care and community mindedness, rather than a winner-take-all competition like capitalism. There are no billionaires under a socialist system, nor are there any people living unhoused. No one goes hungry or goes without medical care. Socialism is also an ethos, a worldview. It is the worldview that is the foundation for the system. Again, it's a worldview of care and community mindedness, of collective liberation and mutual aid. And in my Unitarian Universalist theology, collective liberation and mutual aid will be the keys to the gates on the beloved community. This is the teaching of Jesus of Nazareth: to love each other, to support one another. When you have more than you need, build a longer table rather than higher walls. That when you aren't sure if you have enough, give it away and it will multiply. The story of the loaves and the fishes is the only story in all 4 books of the Gospel: Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. The story goes that Jesus was traveling after the death of John the Baptist, and soon a crowd was traveling with him. Jesus wondered what they might feed the multitudes, and he noticed that one of his close companions had 5 loaves and 2 fishes. Jesus directed his disciples to hand out the food. And when they had fed everyone, he again directed them to collect what was left over. They collected 12 baskets of leftovers after feeding 5,000 people with 5 loaves and 2 fishes. We can interpret this story, a story so important all 4 of the Gospels have a version, in a multitude of ways, right? First, one of the ways is we could interpret it as a miracle performed by God because of the faithfulness of the 5,000 people. Their faith manifested what they need. Or we could interpret it as a collective act of mutual aid. When Jesus and his disciples shared what they had, the people in the crowd who also had food shared as well, and the sharing continued. And not only did none of the 5,000 people hoard food, none of them took more than they needed, so that everyone had enough. And not just enough for that meal, but probably for at least one more. I'm sure you can guess which analysis I embrace. The loaves and fishes were the source of the mutual aid, and as people shared what they had, the mutual aid blossomed like a rose. A number of years ago, there was a trend among Christians to wear a bracelet that said WWJD, signifying what would Jesus do. And at that time, I had a lot of cynicism in my bones, more than I do now. And I dismissed the idea that asking ourselves what Jesus would do was any kind of way to make a decision. Truthfully, I wasn't just cynical. I was also naive, unchurched, and my only knowledge of Jesus had been filtered through both pop culture and the views of my parents, which weren't exactly negative, but were just as ill-informed as I was. A few years later, I was recovering from a pretty significant breakup, and I decided to get a tattoo that said "Love over fear" on my wrist. That's because when in the early part of the breakup, a friend had said to me, "You must always choose love over fear." It was really helpful in processing leaving my partner. And choosing love over fear is about making decisions from a place of love rather than a place of fear. It was a really hard decision to leave that relationship, but it was about choosing love of myself over the fear of the unknown. You know, Jesus could have left the mass of people to fend for themselves when they were hungry. He could have hoarded the loaves and fishes for himself and his disciples. That decision would have been based on fear. How do I make sure I have enough food for my journey? I'm afraid if I share, I'll run out sooner. But Jesus chose love. He loved those people. He welcomed the strangers to eat his food. And as they chose to love each other and share their food as well, and there was plenty left over. Sharing the loaves and fishes was socialism. It came from the worldview that we should care for one another. And what is good for the community is the right choice. Jesus of Nazareth chose love over fear because his love was beyond belief, beyond fear or worries about scarcity. On the day that some of us honor the sacred day of Jesus' resurrection, also known as Easter, there are two, maybe more ways to interpret that resurrection, right? We could interpret it as a literal rising from the dead, a zombie Jesus situation. We absolutely could do that. Or we could interpret it the way that Sophia Lyons-Foss has taught us, that when we love someone, we resurrect them every time we follow their example. What would Jesus do? Indeed. So what would it take for you to choose love over fear? How can you make the community-minded choice? How can I help you get ready to unlock the gates on the beloved community with mutual aid and collective liberation? Because that's how we honor the sacred source, the teachings of Jesus of Nazareth. For clarity's sake, among the sources of our faith, we include wisdom from the world's religions, the words and deeds of prophetic people, and Jewish and Christian teachings which call us to respond to God's love by loving our neighbor as ourselves. Those sources inform our principles, which call us to live our faith. Let's share our bounty and build bigger tables. Let's notice when our neighbors' bowls are empty. Let's work toward fair wages and the end of limitless wealth. Let's do what Jesus did. Not through any sort of misguided prosperity theology, but through a theology of Unitarian Universalism, which is encapsulated in an often used children's affirmation. Love your neighbor as yourself. Search for truth with an open mind and make the world a better place. Amen, and blessed be.
You gotta hold everybody. You gotta hold everybody up. We gotta hold everybody. We gotta hold everybody up. Hold everybody up, up, up. Hold everybody up, up, up. Hold everybody up, up, up. Hold everybody up. So no one may see you wherever you are, holding everybody up, but the principle is still important. So I ask that you join me wherever you are. Risk looking silly, risk looking goofy, and let's lift everybody up in the course of supporting one another. Here we go. It goes like this. We gotta hold everybody. We gotta hold everybody up. We gotta hold everybody. We gotta hold everybody up, hold everybody up, 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 hold everybody up, 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 hold everybody up, 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 hold everybody up. Now there's a verse that goes like this. Just because you look like you and I look like me, it doesn't mean we can't be friends. You're not my enemy. Everybody gotta hold everybody. We gotta hold everybody up. We gotta hold everybody. We gotta hold everybody up. Hold everybody up, up, up. Hold everybody up, up, up. Hold everybody up, up, up. Hold everybody up. People around the world can sometimes seem so sad. Just because you show you care, it doesn't feel so bad. Let me tell you, gotta hold everybody. We gotta hold everybody up. We gotta hold everybody. We gotta hold everybody up. Hold everybody up. Up, up. Hold everybody up. Up, up. Hold everybody up, 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 hold everybody up.
Immediately after the service, please join us for a chance to continue our time in community. You can join us at uua.org/social hour. And if you're new to us, you are most welcome at social time. You can let the host know if you'd like, and there'll be someone to talk to and answer your questions. There will also be space for general social conversation, meeting and greeting each other, as well as breakout rooms for more focused discussion about the service today. Again, it's at uua.org/social hour. Giving is a reminder of that form of love we call generosity. And as this offering is for the ministries and programs of our congregation, it is an exercise in mutual aid. All of your contributions are welcome, small and the less small, because it is the collective gift that helps us make a difference by caring for each other in this way. Thank you for your love and for your generosity. You may give at uuaa.org/giving. Beloveds, to heal a hurting world, we must ask ourselves, what would Jesus do? Not because we believe him to be the Son of God, but because care and compassion are Unitarian Universalist values. Multiply your loaves and fishes by giving them away, my beloveds. As we extinguish this chalice, let's consider how we can multiply the fires of justice making in our lives. Go in peace, beloveds. Amen, and blessed be.